Hey guys, what is up? Computer Green 45 Alex back with yet another episode of Everlasting Summer. This is my third episode of a bunch. A bunch of episodes I've been doing of Everlasting Summer. Given this is the third episode, you can kind of guesstimate how long I've been sitting here trying to play this game. But, or I guess just read this, but whatever. Let's continue. Same warnings apply from the first two episodes. If you're watching episode 3, I don't know why you haven't watched episodes 1 and 2, but let us continue forward. But where on earth is the driver? Okay, basically, this dude, I still am not completely sure what his name is, has fallen asleep on the bus on his way to, I would presume, work, but I don't really know. And on the way there, he fell asleep, and when he woke up, the bus was changed. It was a different bus, and it was the middle of summer when before had been winter. So he's freaking out. Let's continue. But where on earth is the driver? I cautiously sat down on the curbstone beside the bus and started waiting. Ellipses. My patience didn't last long. My anxiety seemed to have reached the top, and I started going slightly mad. In such situation, anyone would have probably felt something similar. Aliens and parallel universes were gone from my imagination, leaving only void and darkness. Is this how it will all end? How my life will end? But I wanted to do so much, so many things that I had no time for yet. I was taken over by the idea that this was definitely the end. But why? It's not fair. Surely I'm no worse than anyone. God, why? Tears were burning my eyes unbearably. I curled up and started rolling in the grass. Why? What did I do? Why me? But my outcries were only heard by speechless statues of pioneers and by a bird on a tree, which immediately flapped her wings and took off, having cried something in its own bird language, as if laughing at the idiot who dared to interrupt its after-dinner nap. At last I was breathless with my weeping and just laid quietly, sobbing from time to time. Jeez, dude. After a while, I managed to pull myself together. Mind cleared up a bit, as if terror and the fear of death gave me a little break. All in all, if someone wanted to kill me, what is all this for? Doesn't look like an experiment, either. If this is some crazy coincidence, then it probably carries no threat. Anyway, for now, it seems there is no danger. The panic was soon gone. Of course, the blood was still pounding in my head, and my hands were still shaking, but at least I could think clearly now. Right now, there is nothing I can really change anyway, so no matter how much I think or get mad, it would only make things worse. There's no point making guesses until I get some facts straight. In any case, I won't learn anything by lounging about here. The camp, if of course it really is a camp, looked like the only place where people could be, so I decided to walk there, and hardly have I reached the gates when a girl came out from behind them, wearing pioneer uniform. My logic didn't let me down this time. Then again, pioneer uniform in the XI century. Again, bad with Roman numerals. And then again, girls here? I froze, unable to make a step. I felt very much like running away. Running as far away as I could from this place. Far from this bus, gates, statues, and far from this bloody bird with its siesta. Just run, free like a wind, faster and faster, waving to the planets passing by and winking to the galaxies. Pretty ambitious for a dude that was pretty dark in the first couple episodes here. Run, becoming a pulsar ray and turning into a vestigial radiation. Run to face the unknown. I know what vestigial is. I just had to recognize the word. Don't judge me. Well, I know you're all judging. Just don't vocalize your judgments. I know I'm stupid. Leave it alone. Run no matter where, as long as it's far away from this place. Meanwhile, the girl came closer and smiled. I could not help but notice her beauty, even though I was trembling with fear. Human instincts work despite of consciousness, and while only 5% of the brain is responsible for cognitive processes, the remaining 95% are always sustaining life, and in particular, ensuring stable functioning of the hormonal system. I desperately wanted to get less complicated and stop thinking of informal quotes from the encyclopedia, though my thoughts appeared one by one being stupid, out of place, as if taken from an internal monologue of a hero of some junky softcover crime fiction book. A pretty Slavic face, long braids. Slavic? I think it's Slavic. Pretty Slavic face. Long braids looking like 2 armfuls of fresh hay, and blue eyes in which you could drown. Hi, you must have just arrived. Why would I not reply? Semyon, that's my name. I'm not gonna remember that, but Semyon. Yeah. Alright then, welcome. She smiled broadly. Strange, it looked as if I had just a normal girl in front of me. Bah, I shouldn't have returned here. The woods and fields seem better. But what shall I do next? Try to speak with her as if she was a human? Or run away, or whatever? The blood was pumping unbearably in my head, tearing it apart from the inside. A little bit more and the poor pioneer girl would be splattered with the hideous contents of my skull. Okay. What's funny about that? The girl gazed over me. It sent shivers down my spine, and my knees started to tremble. Nothing? Great, then. Great? What's great about that? Suddenly I felt like letting it all be. The bus behind me, the winter yesterday and the summer today. Take off the itchy pullover and just believe that it was all real. That it was all meant to be, and that it all, at last, was for the better. And you must probably know. You should go to our camp leader. She'll tell you everything. Look, you go straight ahead to the square and then turn left, and you'll see small cabins. She pointed at the gates, as if I knew what was behind them. Well, you can ask someone where Olga Mitrovina's cabin is. Mitrovina is a patronymic. A derivative of a person's father's name, in this case Dmitri, put by Russians after the first person's name as a sign of respect or formal address. So it's her father? Well, thank you for the info on that. I would have just been left guessing with that. I would have guessed it was just that person's name, but yeah. Got it? Of course, I didn't. And I gotta go. The girl waved her hand at me and disappeared behind the gates. It seemed as if for her I was something ordinary. And all this show with the bus, and the travels in waking or sleeping, were troubling only me, while here everything was just like it was supposed to be. Camp leader, pioneer uniform. Are they making a historical reconstruction here? I hope I wouldn't find Lenin standing atop of an armored car at this square. But even that would not surprise me right now. After standing alone for a while, I headed into the camp. A mere 50 meters ahead, small one-story house was popped up on the left side. The billboard near the door said, "Clubs." I was about to come closer when the door suddenly opened and a short girl wearing pioneer uniform came out. Her pretty face gave me an impression of bearing a torment for the fate of the whole mankind with a truly universal sorrow. Jesus, dude, calm down for 4 seconds. As soon as she saw me, the girl froze, as if frightened. I froze too, considering what was the best to do. To approach first, or wait until she shows some initiative. Or maybe run away after all. Although this last option was constantly suggested only by my self-preservation instinct, at least that's what I thought to believe. I'd like to believe. Not the worst human instinct, but one far from being the most logical. If this instinct played poker against deductive abilities, the result would be predetermined. Cute. And those deductive abilities, or at least their semblance, were hinting me that there was no need to be afraid of this girl. Suddenly somebody jumped out of nearby bushes. CCCP? Okay. Or USSR. That works too. A girl wearing a bright red t-shirt with USSR written on it. Such exact reproduction of the age. She looked quite short from the distance and was probably younger than both pioneer girls at the gates and this girl at the door of the clubs. At last I decided to come closer, but the USSR, as I called her in my mind, jumped to the first girl and started telling her something while sawing the air. The other girl, in turn, seemed confused, looked down, and made no reply. I would have probably continued to observe her amusing dialogue, but the USSR suddenly pulled something out of her pocket and started shaking it in front of the first girl's face. A cricket? Oh, grasshopper. This something turned out to be a grasshopper. Oh no, she's just like screaming. Squealed the first girl. Yeah. She must not be too keen of insects, as she instantly rushed towards where Lenin presumably made a speech about the accomplished workers and peasants' revolution. That's to say, towards the square. The USSR glanced at me, grinned playfully, and dashed after her. Not a bad start of the day. I have absolutely no clue where I am, besides that. There are some kids here, role-playing pioneers. And as far as I can tell, this place is located thousands of kilometers away from my home. It might even be a different reality. And this was indeed a reality. I mean, everything around me seems so real, if a little embellished, that I was starting to fall into thinking that in fact my previous life could have been just a dream. And what should I do now? Ellipses. I was picking the cracks in the tiles which paved the pathway, and stared aimlessly at the club's building. Just a few more seconds before I have to come up with some decision. That's when I recalled myself rolling on the grass, weeping. I cringed in disgust. Perhaps it's another instinct. When all energy for whimpering and self-pitying is used up, the body either goes into hibernation or mobilizes its reserves. Mine seemed to have chosen the second option, because out of the blue, I got this determination to figure out what was going on. And in order to do that, I had to act like a man, like a human, to maintain the dignity of a representative of my own world. I followed my path to the left and to the right of which stood small cabins, apparently homes of the local pioneers. Actually, they looked quite cozy from the outside. Even though I was born in the Soviet Union, I have never been part of its children organizations, neither the pioneers nor even the younger October children. I imagine the daily life of a typical pioneer camp a bit differently. Huge barracks with long rows of metal bunks. Wake-up call at 6 o'clock, played by a siren. 1 minute to make your bed. Then joining formation at the drill square. Or wait, can I be confusing it with something else? I think you're confusing it with something else. I was suddenly hit on the back. I staggered but remained on my feet, turned around, and prepared to become a hero while fighting for my life. Okay. And you are? But all I found was another girl standing before me. My mouth hung open in surprise. Pick your jaw up off the floor. I closed my mouth. Same pioneer uniform, but it looked, let's say, provocative the way she was wearing it. Like all the girls I had met before, this one was rather cute, but her overly arrogant expression killed any desire to get to know her better. So you're new here? Click. There we go. Fine. See ya. She dashed a threatening glance at me and walked past. That's threatening to you? Is that threatening? I think that's more of a kind of look. You know what I mean, that I waited for the pioneer girl to turn the corner. Who knows what else she might have been up to. The most interesting thing was that even this hostile girl seemed completely normal to me. She did not give the feeling of some deadly danger. Except maybe the danger of getting punched in the nose. That's a danger. At last, I managed to make it to the square. There was no Lenin on an armored car, although one could really expect something like that after all that had happened. Instead, however, a monument to a certain comrade towered in the middle of the square. The letters on the pedestal read Genda. I'm not going to try and say it like a word. It must be some figure of the party. There were some small benches at the sides. It's quite cozy here. Where did that girl tell me to go? To the left or to the right? To the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. Why am I going there anyway? Alright, I've decided to pretend to be normal. So, to the right. Through a small grove. Okay, on that note of that small grove, I think I will leave it here and pick it up next time. So, this is Computer Queen 45 Alex. Thank you guys for all that you do, and I will see you next time. Bye.